Welcome to our very first Shares a Waffle of 2022. Joining the fun for January, we have a guest who just has the most positive outlook on life and hopefully will begin to share some of her stories, some of her storytelling skills. And in case you haven't known who's with us this month, this is the most wonderful person. This is Katie Whetsell. I've even put my Woman is the Grumpy Girls t-shirt on, especially.
You've come prepared.
I've come prepared, but do you know something? This is such a thrill for me. Personally, I'm just going to be dead selfish about this whole thing altogether, just because I think on our last month's show we had Neil and Karen from Portwood Travel, and Neil said, "You are the type of person, John, who would sit through every single one of the Finding Nemo the Musical shows in an entire day, and you still would be asking to go back and see the next show the following day." And yeah, that kind of sums it up, Katie. So that's why it's such a thrill for me, because I've seen you so many times, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know you on social media, because obviously this time, probably last year, I was not social media savvy. So that's been a learning process for me.
Listen, it's always a learning process. I just started delving into the realm of TikTok, and I'm like, there's so much of social media with every new platform. It's like learning new skills, and yeah, it's wild out there.
You have to admit, we've only just started doing TikTok last month. So it's like,
he's slightly addicted.
I blame Claire.
Yeah, you can lose like hours, days of your life on TikTok, can't you?
Yeah.
I'm just going to have a quick look.
Yeah, a quick look turns into an hour.
Right.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
If you're lucky, it's only an hour.
Yeah. Those algorithms are scary as well, but you know.
Oh dear, doesn't bear thinking. So for our regular listeners and watchers on YouTube, with me this month, we've got Ben and Becca, and we've got Claire. We're starting the new year off with the most fantastic guest. So welcome, Katie. And I'm going to start with this because actually, if anyone wants to check out your website, which is katiewhetsell.com, you describe yourself as storyteller, magic maker, and the opening words on it is just amazing. You're on a quest to spark meaningful human connection through storytelling. The power of stories we witness and the ones we can help grow and heal and ultimately illuminate our path. And I think that is just such a beautiful way of just summing up how you want to live a life. And I've got a real big thing about that, and how you empower those that you connect with, and telling stories in a creative way, which is wonderful, because that, as a podcast, I think that's what we totally believe, is just being that positive voice in people's ears, and just sort of taking that sense of maybe just having that little bit of a spark for people. So
absolutely.
Anyway,
well, at the end of the day, we all are storytellers. You know what I mean? And the stories that we tell and that we share with each other, I think, have the power to make people feel less alone. And I think that at the end of the day, where Brene Brown, I'm a big fan of Brene Brown, talks a lot about how we're hardwired for human connection. And I think sometimes the stories that we tell and share together are just another way of connecting us to each other. So I'm glad it spoke to you. That's really lovely. Thank you.
Certainly did. Go on, Claire. I'm thinking you're desperate to start us off. I think we start Katie. We need to start Katie with our traditional quick fire first of 2022 carousel of questions. There's no pressure, Katie. People have answered the most bizarre things over the course of goodness knows how long.
I'm trying to think, have we been asking these questions for 18 months now? I think it
might be closer to 2 years.
Is it nearly 2 years? And we've never, I don't think anyone's ever said this. I think there might be a couple of questions where we've had the same answer, but all our guests have got there. So, Katie, we are so excited to know what you're going to answer these questions. As John would say, go from the heart. Don't overthink it. If you want to explain your answer, you're very welcome to. But if you don't, we'll just move on to the next one. So I'm going to kick off with which is your favourite Disney park?
My favorite Disney park. Okay, I'm going to go with Walt Disney World, Epcot in particular, because I really love this idea of centering all the different countries, all the different cultures. And when I think about how many people come to Walt Disney World, and I mean, obviously there's considerable expenses involved in going to visit any Disney park. The fact that if you are a family who can't necessarily afford to travel abroad, it gives you the opportunity to get a very, very small, very brief glimpse of other places around the world. And I just think that's really magical. And again, I feel like, I look for these connections. It connects us all to each other. And I think that's just really cool. So that's my answer.
Excellent answer.
Yeah, we all love Epcot. It's it's a favourite in this team.
Growing on me.
That's true. It's grown on us. I have to admit, after our first trip, it was never. I don't know. I wasn't sure what to get from the first time going to Epcot, comparing it to like Magic Kingdom and everything else.
We've got old.
We've grown up. We've grown up.
We've grown up.
You found your soul.
I want to do that.
Is what you meant to say.
Oh, sorry, Claire. We found the alcohol.
Yeah, okay. If that's how you want to put it.
In Mexico, because
Right.
Do you know what? I'm going to take the second question.
Go on.
A ride that you hate.
a ride that I hate. Okay, a ride that I hate. Wow, this is a hard question to answer because if I hate it, I probably don't ride it very often. I'm gonna try to think. Can I talk about probably a ride that isn't people's favorite that I love? Can I reframe it?
Yeah.
Yes. Go on then.
I really love Living with the Land at Epcot.
Oh yeah, so do we. Yes.
This idea of like figuring out how different things grow, and like the new innovations in food. There is something about that ride that I cannot get enough of.
Yeah.
So
They just need to put the song back because
yeah.
make believe you're a tiny little seed. It needs to be back.
Do you know what? It's such a different ride when you've done the Christmas overlay as well. It just feels so much different. Yeah. And you freak out every time you go on it because you don't like wasps.
Yeah, there's always that sign. I've never seen one though, so I'm hopeful. Right, I'll take the next question. What's the most overrated snack at Disney?
I'm gonna say it. The Mickey bar.
Again, loads of people say
I know people love it. I just feel like it's an ice cream bar. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's a good one. No need to explain. We understand. Next question. What's your favourite transportation mode at Walt Disney World?
I love the monorail. I love it without hesitation. I love the monorail. I love it.
I love that. You didn't even take a breath.
No,
straight in. Monorail.
Yeah.
Guys, she fits right in. Just beware. This could be a monthly thing, Katie. Could be booking you in every month for the rest of 2022. You see.
I just want to check. You've been in Epcot World Showcase before.
I have.
We have a member of the team who hasn't really done Epcot, or I would say she's done one.
She's not done Epcot properly, but she's not with us. She's not with us tonight. You see, so which is probably quite a thing because we could name and shame her, and generally we always do. So
there might be an opening.
Yeah.
When she comes down to give me a buzz, I'll show her a good time.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to take the next question, and this is a bit harder, this one. So, which is your favourite table service restaurant in Walt Disney World?
Okay. Now, this is difficult to answer because are we also including sit-down restaurants in resorts?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are going to look at me like I have four heads, but the best restaurant I have been to maybe ever. This isn't going to come as a total surprise. Have any of you been to Victoria and Albert's at the Grand Floridian?
No.
It's super expensive. Initially, when I first came down here to Walt Disney World to do my very first contract at Finding Nemo the Musical, everyone had talked about Victoria and Albert's, this very, very fancy restaurant that it takes like months to get into. I'm a bit of a foodie. I love trying all sorts of different foods, and so that was going to be like my end to my contract treat to myself. Like I was going to save up all this money and like go with a friend, like to go there. And to date, it is one of the most incredible restaurants I've ever been to anywhere.
Wow. Well, that's a recommendation, isn't it?
Right. No, start saving.
Save your pennies, though, because it's not a casual Friday night out.
I don't know. Maybe we need to start like a GoFundMe page.
Yeah. Another one, Ben.
Another one.
Victoria and Albert's GoFundMe.
Yeah, I think we've got enough GoFundMe pages for goodness knows whatever. Any trip to Walt Disney World anytime soon. I think.
Maybe we just need to be sponsored by like Victoria and Albert's. That'd be good.
Yeah,
so we get to go and test it, try out the food.
Yeah,
maybe give a review.
Exactly. Podcast purposes. I mean, it's only fair.
It's a business trip.
It's a business trip.
That means it's tax deductible as well.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay.
The choice of being self-employed.
I'll take the next one. This is sometimes a difficult question to trip some people up. What is your favourite car park?
My favourite car park? Okay. I do have an answer for this one.
Yep.
All of these are going to be very Walt Disney World centered. I mean, I've been to Disneyland and I've been to Tokyo Disney before, but they're going to be Walt Disney World centered. It's going to be the car park at Disney Springs. And let me tell you why. So there was one St. Patrick's Day that I went to Disney Springs. It was when they were going through the phase of kind of transitioning everything into being a little bit more updated. And I had gone on St. Patrick's Day because a friend was having a birthday gathering there and was going to do like a photo scavenger hunt, which any holiday at Disney Springs or at Disney in general can be really challenging in terms of parking. And when there was no parking garage before, it was really a challenge to find parking in downtown Disney. Well, long story short, this I'm going to try to make this short. We were tailing somebody who was headed out to their cars to find a place to park. So we talked to somebody. We were like, "Hey, where are you parked?" They said, "Oh, we're parked over here." I said, "Can I follow you and take your parking spot?" They said, "Yes." So I follow this person over. This other person sees them coming, decides it's their parking spot. Needless to say, the car pulled out in favor of our car getting the spot, but that person got really angry and slashed my tires. A little bit of a negative story. However, needless to say, the new parking garage at Disney Springs is A+. No tire slashings.
No.
Wow. Wow. That isn't very Disney, is it?
No.
Anyway,
I'll tell you what. They didn't tell me that in the Orlando Sentinel Twitter feed. They don't tell you stories like that, do they? It's just like it's always trying to paint that little picture. Goodness, I'm gonna. Yeah, good job they got those.
At Disney Springs, the parking garage has these little
it's just amazing.
The lights that tell you where to park.
The lights that tell you where the spot is open. I love it.
I need those lights in life in general. I would quite like everywhere, where you can.
It's a bit like that, It's a bit like they've got in supermarkets now to let you in and out. It's like they put a light outside whether there's enough people or too many people in the store. You just need that everywhere.
Maybe we should have a light like that. When you wake up in the morning. When you wake up, you just have a green light
outside your bathroom.
Yeah. No, just green light. You can get out of bed. Red light. No, it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not going to be worth it today.
Stay in bed and just have a restful day. It's just not worth it today, guys.
Yeah.
That's good.
The light says red.
Just one that says try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll work. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Okay. Next question. Would you prefer an early morning or a late night park visit?
Well, I've had both. But now as a cast member, not as a guest. I will say two of the most magical things I've had the chance to do is they haven't had them for a couple of years, but there are these things for cast members called Canoe Races of the World, where individual shows, individual departments will canoe race around Tom Sawyer Island.
Wow.
which is a wild experience. It's only for cast members. It's this like very fun competition. And it's something that's been going on for forever. So being able, driving to the Magic Kingdom cast member parking lot when it's basically still dark outside to get in a canoe and just race around Tom Sawyer Island was such a cool experience. That was just so, you rarely get to see Magic Kingdom Park when early in the morning when there aren't any guests there, which is just so amazing. And then late at night, when I was fortunate enough to be part of Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular. Obviously, when you're putting up a really big show, you can't do those rehearsals or get the show ready during the day. So it all happens overnight. So kind of the cool experience for me was getting to set up a camping chair right in front of the Magic Kingdom Castle stage. To just kind of camp out there, overnight as we're, getting up and doing runs of the show and getting it ready for guests to see before opening night. So I basically had, an all night experience at Magic Kingdom Park. So I highly recommend both. But if I was going as a guest, I would probably say early morning. Long answers. Yeah. I'm a natural waffler. What can I say?
You fit in perfectly.
Perfectly. I have to admit, early morning's always been ours just because of the jet lag. By the time we get there on our first morning, we're awake at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because of jet lag. So it's like, want the park to open straight away.
I love early mornings. I just like the freshness in the air as well. It's lovely.
But they're two completely different experiences, and that's the bit I love. It's the start of holiday, early morning, but by the end of the holiday, those late nights. Yeah. Late nights is the lights, and it's just it changes the ambience and just the whole atmosphere within every park changes once you get to sunset, and I love that as well. So great answer. I'm gonna ask you another real quick fire one. Wishes, happily ever after, or illuminations? And I think I know where you might be going.
You do? Well, I want to know what your guess would be.
I was gonna say I've just thought because you said Epcot earlier on, but I bet you'll go with wishes, won't you?
Happily ever after.
Yes. Oh, there you go.
No. I've got someone on my side.
That's usually the only one who goes for that.
I loved Happily Ever After. I sing that song in my shower all the time. I love it. I really, really loved it. I mean, I don't get me wrong. It's hard to choose though. I mean, there's an element of Illuminations that I also really miss, but I really loved Happily Ever After.
Excellent.
And I think, John, is there a sneaky final question in there? Like the final question?
There is a final question.
Final question.
A final question. Yeah.
And this could be a make or break one, Katie, I'm afraid. So Main Street Electrical Parade or Spectro Magic?
Oh boy. It's going to be Spectro Magic, and there's a reason why. Well, I mean, this story may be known, it may not be known, but Spectro Magic was at a time, it was my very first trip to Walt Disney World with my family. My mom was sick with cancer at the time. Oh my gosh, am I going to get emotional again? Geez.
Oh my word.
And so, we had been, pushing her around in a wheelchair for the good majority of the day, because chemotherapy, if anyone has gone through it or has had family go through it, it really can wreak havoc, obviously, on your body and on your nerves. So we sort of set her up next to the parade route to see the parade go by. And oh my gosh. And so as we're watching all of the, the lights go by, of course, it's a magical time because it's our first time as a family all together at Walt Disney World. We also, this was the one and only family vacation that we had gotten to take together. And so this beautiful butterfly just comes up to my mom and just puts her hand on her shoulder and smiles at her in this way that was so pure and wonderful. And I feel like in that moment, I knew that I was going to work for Disney at one point or another. I had to, because of the amount of joy it could provide and comfort it can provide, not only for a family, but for someone who had always dreamed of going to Walt Disney World, or not Walt Disney World, but going to Disneyland, a Disney park. And being able to see that expression of just like almost childhood elation on her face, my mom's face, was, I mean, life-changing for me. And also it helped drive home to me why these parks matter. Why Disney as a brand matters. And there's, I have a lot of feelings about Disney as a brand in general. There are a lot of really great things, and there's a lot of really complicated things. But providing a space where adults can feel like they can access that childhood abandon again, I just think is crucially important. I feel like as we get older, we lose the ability to play. We lose the permission to play.
Yeah.
And so I just think Disney parks provide that opportunity, and I think it's so beautiful and amazing. So that's why I say Spectrum Magic.
Thank you for sharing that.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I would point people as well, Katie. I know you did one of the Disney shorts. Was it One Day at Disney?
Yes.
For the role that you play within. You played within Finding Nemo the Musical, and actually you told that story, and actually, I think you found it as difficult to talk about then, and you felt so emotional about it. But even as we were trying to prep for this show and things like that, I had just one sort of thought. That whole thing, that smile that the butterfly gave to your mum, and as a dad of two boys who've seen Finding Nemo the Musical far too many times to actually admit to, I think, is to being healthy. But it's that smile from the stage that has resonated certainly with us as a family. It's not about me. It's us as a family, and as a complete cast. You just sort of made this theatre appear such a small space that was just about your individual time within Animal Kingdom, and I've got to say that's certainly where we spoke about it last night as a family. Is just how just compelling your role as Dory was, and it just your light. You just brought that life onto stage, and I thought we just sort of. We'd love to go and work for Disney. I must admit, both my kids would love to go and work for Disney. I may be a little bit on the
you can go in parks with cars. John, you'd be okay in the parking lot.
I was thinking of looking for bus drivers. I could go and do that. I don't mind doing
pilot, that. Something like that. You'll be all right. We'll find you something.
Okay, that's
a lot
fine.
Of movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what, John? I think that is a really good point to sort of propel us forward. So
yeah,
I'm going to ask Katie about your journey to how your Disney journey. Obviously, that was sort of the beginning of your Disney journey. How did you get from there? Obviously, you've done an awful lot within the Disney space, not just Finding Nemo the Musical. That's what we sort of know you for. But actually, when you look at your resume, you've done tons of amazing stuff. So tell us about how your Disney journey has sort of evolved.
Well, it's I've always loved theater. I was a very dramatic child.
I have two of those.
Had a lot of feelings. I still have a lot of feelings. So it just sort of, I grew up with a godmother who gifted me with amazing Disney movies. So I grew up on sort of that new like renaissance of Disney films, Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Lion King and, all of those really singable songs. And the first song that ever came out of my mouth was Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. And the whole reason we even discovered that I could sing was because of Disney, because I didn't have something for show and tell. And so I told my mom that I was going to go and sing Part of Your World for show and tell. And she was like, why don't you sing it for me first? Because I'm sure she thought, oh my gosh, my daughter is going to go and get made fun of by these kids. And so that sort of began it all. I really loved Jodie Benson, and I was obsessed with that movie. And so of course I sang it for her, and she went to get my dad out of bed, and I sang it for him. And so that sort of began the journey of me learning that I could sing, that I was interested in theater, and, got really involved with it in high school and in our drama program at our local high school. And then through doing a collaboration that was a semi-professional, or actually, no, it was a professional production that was being performed downtown that was looking for a local teenage ensemble. When I was in high school, I auditioned for that. And I feel like it was in watching and working with those professional artists that I really discovered that I wanted to do it for a living. So I went to school for musical theater with a concentration in dance. And partially the last part of our program was an internship in New York City, where we got to work in a casting office and kind of get to know the business side of the industry. And toward the end of that experience, I saw that Disney Cruise Line was auditioning. And because I was so close to graduation, I thought, I've always known that Disney is going to be a part of my journey in some way. So I went to the open call, and I got a call back. And so I changed my flight, and I was like, this is how it happens. This is all going to work out. And I didn't get the job. It affirmed for me that I was in the right place with the Walt Disney Company in general, that not only my love for the stories that I grew up with, but also that I had the skill set that was marketable to Disney as an artist, that it was just going to be a matter of the right project. So, did lots of different things. Worked at Utah Shakespeare Festival, which I really loved, and it did some tours. And incidentally, Disney came out to audition at Utah Shakespeare Festival. Some of the artists, and they were casting for a new project called Villains Tonight. And for Disney Cruise Line, and I went in, I auditioned for it, got called back for a couple of roles. And then because I was working at Utah and they were casting it out of New York City, I had to constantly submit videotape submissions, which now is very commonplace, especially with the pandemic, submitting the auditions. But at the time, it really was kind of a disadvantage because the creative team wasn't getting to work with you in the room. And it was a creative team I was desperate to work with because they were well known in the New York community, Hunter Bell and Jeff Bowen. And I just really loved them. They did Title of Show, which is this really hilarious Broadway show that I had loved very much. Kept getting callbacks for different roles. And I was like, they just don't know where to put me. I'm never going to get it. And then, I got this really joyful phone call from the casting director, basically, saying, well, they reviewed your footage, like really, really setting me up. And we just were wondering if you would be ready to get on a cruise ship and travel all around Europe.
Oh.
And I'm like, I was like weeping on the sidewalk. I think, a lot of feelings. I think people were like, what happened? What's wrong? And I was like, this is happy. And so, it was my first time working on a brand new show for Disney, and also my first time leaving the country, which just felt so exciting to not only be able to premiere this show as Ursula, the counterpart to my one of my favorite princesses, but to be able to travel the world and get paid for it was just this very wild experience. So so that was my first job with Disney. And since have gone back to originate the role of Mother Gothel in Tangled the Musical, which was, again, can I just tell you this really amazing moment that happened, which was Alan Menken coming out to see us do one of our final runs of the show. Wow. And I could get emotional. Being able to sing for the man who wrote the first melody that ever came out of my mouth was like, it was a beyond moment. I mean, first of all, I was so nervous. He was really warm and really kind. And, he and Glenn Slater both were just very lovely and complimentary. And anyway, it was a full circle moment. And so I've had the privilege of doing a lot of really cool things for, the Walt Disney Company, both on Disney Cruise Line and here at Walt Disney World. And That was a very long answer.
No, I want to know
fabulous,
more.
Fabulous answer.
I can't imagine the pressure of just sort of like performing, and then it's like, oh, Alan Menken. And it's just like how much more pressure is added on.
It's one of those things where you wish they hadn't told you beforehand. Oh, and by the way, guess who was here?
yeah. Guess who's coming to dinner? No. I'm glad I was prepared, because I think if I had seen him, I think that would have been worse. But I think that
just sitting in the front row.
Yeah, like, just because you're a performer, that you're also like really like comfortable like singing and performing in high stakes situations, and a lot of times that's not true. I mean, it's, there's a lot for me, especially I get performance anxiety every now and again, and have different techniques of sort of managing that. But, people say all the time, like, oh my gosh, my biggest fear is public speaking. I feel like most of the time for artists, like there is that inherent pressure that lives there. But I feel like for artists, in some ways, we're called to do it. I don't know. It's this very strange experience, but it was very cool. But yeah. I mean, it was definitely a high pressure moment.
Can I ask you, the first audition that you didn't get, what was the role that you didn't get?
It was for Ariel and for the Blue Fairy. That was what I remember singing. Oh, and I think there was a side for singing some of the music from Hercules.
Oh,
I think.
Nice.
It's so long ago, but I think those were the sides.
Wow.
That whole journey is quite incredible, isn't it? And you start putting the pieces together from the beginning to where all those different bits of the experience it's so special. But currently, how where are you now? Because obviously, sadly, we know that Finding Nemo the Musical closed last year. This year, last year, because we're 2020.
Last year,
yeah.
So what is life currently for you, Katie?
That's the big question, isn't it? I think, especially with my journey with Disney, like I feel like there were so many touchstone moments in my life that led me to exactly where I felt like I was supposed to be, and so much of that just felt like, oh, of course I ended up at Disney because of all of these amazing points in my life that sort of pointed me in that direction. And I feel like one of the things that we know about Disney stories, and forgive me if this sounds like a very Pollyanna kind of answer, but any main character in any story has to go through a really tough time. Mm-hmm. And emerge on the other side, having new information and discovering some things that lived within themselves, either that they hadn't discovered before, or cultivating something new within themselves that they needed to have in order to get to the next point in their life. And I feel like that's where I'm at now. Is I don't really know what the future is going to hold in terms of my own Disney story, but I know that this period of time has been truly singular in that it's been really tough. It's posed some challenging feelings for me on many different levels, about performing, about Disney, about my own, ego and all of that. But I feel like all of these things are so necessary in order to get me where I'm going to go next. Yeah. And I mean, really, it's just such a question mark. I have no idea. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's exciting.
It is. It's an exciting space. It's a scary place.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a new iteration of Finding Nemo that is going to transpire in 2022. I have no idea. I have no idea if that will be part of my journey at all. I have no idea.
And that's an exciting thing, and I think that's really where, and certainly over the past 12 months, I think as a show we've really felt so much for for cast members, not just from Finding Nemo The Musical, but for cast members who were really cut from the Disney budget quite harshly, and without any real thought for the fact that there was people with bills to pay, there was families to feed. And I think what we did, certainly during the lockdowns during our time, was trying to support cast members. We're not sure if any of them actually listened to our show, but you had such support from this side of the Atlantic. And certainly through the messages I've tried to send you, just as somebody who, I just totally understood that I was never going to see a show that we'd grown to love so much ever again, and the realization of that for you as a cast, the whole evening I had my kids were coming and said, different person just put this on Insta, someone said this on Twitter, and as a cast you came together so incredibly to just share that moment, that heartbreaking moment where you actually all understood that this was it, this was the end of that little journey, that moment where, and I think my messages to you would always finish with just keep swimming, because it's just that whole thing of just trying to be positive and trying to keep that whole positive sense to it. And you realise that wasn't going to happen anymore.
You've got to go through the jellyfish. That's the end of it, isn't it? You've got to get through them.
Well, that's Dory taught me how to do it best. You know, how to look at every situation. You know, sometimes things look bad, then poof, the moment is gone. You know, like that. You know,
But those words have resonated as well. You know, me personally, I've been on a total rebuild of my life in the past 2 years. You know, doing this is just doing this whole podcasting stuff. It's actually just been a lovely aside for me in actually just changing everything at home and realizing that things happen for a reason. Things actually happen because for the positive, and they happen because you can actually have the ability to be more in control of your life. I know I am.
Yeah,
I'm actually a little bit more normal than I used to be. I think Claire keeps reminding me, don't want the proper grumpy John back.
You're not grumpy John anymore.
No,
you're
no. Yeah, and that's to the extent at which it's not a time where you actually feel lost. It's a time where you actually are in a way kind of recharging the batteries and recharging your soul, because what you're then able to do is have the energy to move on and embrace something that perhaps you'd never felt before was something that you'd either want to do or were capable of doing.
Yeah.
And certainly given the talents that you have, I feel that, I'm looking at your resume. I know Claire had sort of mentioned one.
I know. I've got so many questions. Katie, I should preface this with my son is at university at the moment doing a drama and theatre degree. And I have a daughter who is very dramatic. So he has a lot of,
she's not even reached 10 yet, Claire.
She's 9 and she's a lot sometimes. And I'm just so many questions I have for you, but it's such an incredible placement of things through your journey that I'm excited to see what comes next. But the question I want to ask you is from a musical theatre perspective, because that feels to me where your heart is. What's the role that you haven't had? Any music, not just Disney. What's the musical theatre role that you just know you could nail? That's it. If I could be Sally in Cabaret or whatever, what's the thing that you would love to do?
I mean, I'll just go with the first one that came to the top of my head. But I also will say, I am not a performer who ever enters a role being like, I can absolutely nail this. There's always a little bit of an element of fear, which I think is good. I think it's healthy in some ways. But I think Fanny and Funny Girl. Yeah, Fanny Bryce and Funny Girl. I've never gotten to be in that musical, and I really love it. I mean, Barbara Streisand is just, that movie. I grew up on that movie, and I love that music, and I just think it's so funny and delightful. So I think I would say that, because that's something that's just always been a constant for me. I see things all the time where I'm like, oh man, I'd love a crack at that, or oh man, that would be so fun. But that would be my answer.
You've played the role that when we about a year and a half ago we talked about.
I was just about to dump you in on this, Claire. I was about to. And you're gonna fess up. You're gonna fess up all of on your own.
Myself. I'm gonna offer it up.
Love that.
We did a show where we talked about our ideal favourite cast member roles. So we could have one in resort and one in park, and we all took turns and said what ours would be. And my resort cast member perfect role ever is Dolly Drew in the Hoop-de-Doo. That would be like I just feel so in tune with her. And when I was like, oh, you've done it.
Talk about a show that is just as fun to do as it is to be in the audience to watch. And truly, I can say that because I was a huge fan of Hoop-de-Doo before ever getting cast in doing the show. It is just a riotous good time from top to bottom, on stage and off. I mean,
I love the Hoop-de-Doo so much.
It's so great. It's so fun. And what I love about it too is that it truly is an ensemble cast. You know what I mean? Everybody has their standout moment. It's truly an ensemble lift, which I just think it's the best way to play ball on stage. It's just wonderful. Oh, that makes me so happy. You should do
it. Oh, she would. Don't tell her she'd do it now. She'd do it now. Live on the show. Here's Claire.
Yeah.
It's Dolly Drew. No, maybe not. Maybe not tonight. I'll let you get your costume sorted, Claire.
Yeah, for next month's show.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll work on it. For next month.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, no, it's just what a wonderful thought. You know, it's just, you know, you've basically got the whole world at your feet. And I think that for you, Katie, is it's got to be, it's you know, like I said at the start of the show, you know, I've fed off your positivity. Obviously, when things have been hard, you have an ability to turn things around, and actually, probably when things are hard for you, that's probably a difficult thing to do as well. But trying to see the good in people, trying to see the good in what's out there in the world, and you know, I think that's something that everybody needs. Everybody needs that, just that little ability to have an escape, and even, you know, even when times are bad, you just kind of shut down from social media, ignore all the life that's going on, and just get your head down and just get on and just plow on and do some hard work in some ways, you know.
Yeah.
But I did mention in an email to you, you know, I did notice on your website. So you've got a long list of absolutely amazing things. So you've got puppeteering, acting, singing. You love a story.
I know what you're going to say, because I saw it as well.
You also have the ability to pick up on British dialect from lots of different English places,
which means you're doing better than we are.
Which generally don't involve mine, because I'm from up north, but these other guys are from down south, so they actually are sort of BBC English, and they get that.
John.
Well, yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe. So I'll rein it in a little bit, but just. You actually got so many different sort of things that you are actually capable of doing, and I will not put you on the spot, and I promise I will not do that. I was just flagging up. I just thought, you know, that somebody's got that as a special skill, dialect English, and yet it's the one thing that sets us apart when we go to Disney, and you tend to find that there's people. There's people in the parks, and they'll start just leaning across into your conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't know you. They have no idea who they are. They say, "You from Australia?"
That's so true. So
How
true.
many times?
Every time.
Australia? Or is it worse than this one? Canada.
Yes.
No, it's not. No, we come from England. You're from England.
Yeah.
And I actually think they asked the question just as a means of actually starting the conversation up.
I think we need to wear a hat with a Union Jack on just to sort of...
You need to work on your Dick Van Dyke English. That's the issue. That's what we're not doing very well, clearly.
I feel like Americans just in general, it's like the minute they hear a British dialect, it's just like, oh, it's just so warm and inviting. And it's just like, let me just insert and find all the things out about you. It's very, I don't know.
I had a very interesting experience actually in the parking lot at Magic Kingdom where I don't know if I've told these guys this story, but I parked, when we go, we tend to get quite a big car. I parked my car. And this guy parked next to me and he parked so close, like a millimetre from my car. And I couldn't really get my daughter out of the car. She was small at the time. She was in the car seat, struggling to get her out of the car. And I did the very British thing where I walked behind the car and I sort of looked at his parking and looked at my parking and tutted and rolled my eyes and didn't say anything. And he's got out of the car and I stood there huffing and puffing. And he turned to me and he said, "Oh, didn't I do a very good job of parking?" And I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. I hope you don't mind. Is it possible you could just move across a little bit because I don't want to hit your car when I'm trying to get my daughter out?" He's like, "I don't care. It's a rental." I said, "No, but I do care." And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." He says, "You should have just said you could be cussing me out whatever you like, sounding like that. I wouldn't care." I was just like, I was so perfectly English about it. You know, do you think it would be possible if it's not too much trouble just to move across a little? Yeah. Rather than you parked really badly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I mean, I think that checks out. That checks out.
You just need to say anything and I'll just go, yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, but I've got another part to this though, Katie. It's the fact that if you have that capability, do you go around World Showcase if you're maybe just having a couple of drinks, middle of the afternoon, round Epcot, things like that? And do you go into the Rose and Crown and pretend to be English? You know, just to see who notices and if anybody actually feeds off that.
And you know what?
That would be something, wouldn't it?
If you don't, next time we're there, I know what we're doing.
Oh
yeah.
It's happening. It's happening. That you've just given me an idea for a new pastime of mine. Seeing who notices. Seeing if I can pass. Yeah.
Ooh, that would be a great thing for your TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, whole TikTok series of accents going around World Showcase. There we are. Can't wait to see.
There we go.
You can have that one on us.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that was brilliant. I would love that.
Oh my
I would love that.
It would be too much. And it's very fun. So next time y'all are in town.
Yeah. I'll be
totally doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Any excuse. Yeah. See, the thing is, Claire and I always resort back to this, going to Epcot and having a few beers, and I think that's actually quite.
Speak for yourself, John.
When you said a few beers, you said that.
You're more of the Red Goose slashes.
Yeah.
I have one on the way past because it's rude not to.
Yeah, and on the way back, and then the way past again.
Yeah.
Well, Claire, now Ratatouille's opened, you can get one on the way and then one as you leave.
On the way back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
It really is. Oh, dear. Do you know something, Katie? We could keep talking that complete evening, and what I'm very aware of that you're very time limited, and I don't want to sort of impinge into your time. And I think that's.
It just means that there will need to be a part 2 at some point.
We would, yes. We would love that, and we would actually, we'll keep you to that, because it's actually, I think this is actually the start of something, and actually from all you've said to us throughout this show is just knowing that you've got backup, you've got people here who really care deeply about you and about everything that you've done, and we really care for you, and we'd love you to have you back on the show. We just get an update on what's Katie Whetsell up this month, and then we'll update your journey as and when you get sort of the next exciting assignment. come your way, and we'd love to do that, Katie. And I've got to say, it's just been it's been a delight, but it's been far too short for my liking.
Actually, I've got a question, John.
Go on, man.
Do you know what? If we've spoken about cast members and sort of different roles, if you could choose a regular cast member, sort of a themed one to go for, what would you choose?
Ooh.
Is there a particular one that you'd love to do?
Yes. It would either be in Haunted Mansion or Tower of Terror. I mean, come on. Probably Haunted Mansion, because there's just so much fun to be had. I love it. Or I could make a case for Rise of the Resistance.
Oh, yes.
I could make a case for that as well.
Yeah.
Fun. Again, sort of like even though I genuinely consider myself to be a pretty sort of bright person in life, I'm always going to gravitate toward villains or like the darker kind of role. It's so fun. That all right, so let me turn the tables. I'm going to turn the tables really quickly, and I'm going to ask y'all a question. What is the one Disney attraction where if you visit any Disney park and you are only allowed to ride one thing, what is it going to be? Which park is it going to be?
Okay, mine's Hollywood Studios Rise of the Resistance. Yeah.
Magic Kingdom.
Go
Big
on.
Thunder Mountain.
Matt, did you say Magic Kingdom?
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
This won't surprise these guys. Magic Kingdom Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm going to remain consistent with an answer I gave to a podcast I actually featured on years ago, and somebody asked me a similar question, and it still is Tower of Terror, just because it's just the most amazing thing to just experience from the minute you walk through the gates until the minute you come off and you walk through the shop. And if you meet a cast member along the way that just adds to that experience, and we've met many have added to that experience, it just becomes a completely different experience in itself. I'd love to say Flight of Passage, but I've got to say Tower of Terror every single time, because it's back to cast members. It's not about screens. It's not about having a film as a pre-show. It's about having real people make such a big difference.
Absolutely. I mean, the Disney cast members are the magic. I really believe it. Totally believe it.
They are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
Thank you, Katie, so much for your time. We had so much fun.
I know. I don't want to go.
An hour goes by really quickly.
I know.
It goes by so quick. But again, truly, you can absolutely hold me to this. I will come back on anytime and chat with you all, and hopefully there'll be more trips over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
There will be.
Absolutely.
There definitely will be. And we've got some rolling out the barrels to do in Rose and Crown.
Yes. Do you know what? I will tell you that we've never been to the Rose and Crown.
No.
Oh, Ben. No.
Was it too high into the show?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you actually
we've never.
serious?
Yeah. It's like, look, we're from the UK. Why do I want to spend time in the UK when I'm there?
I don't know. Yeah.
We go in the shop and think, oh no, it's $7 for a Mars bar. And thought, no, I'm not doing that.
I don't know. I'm struggling here. Katie, there could be a full time job going on up in the Waffle. It's not paid for, but if you're willing to come on and just talk to us, it'll keep Claire and I sane, if nothing else.
So I'll just drop these hints every few months to be fine.
Yeah.
Just keeping you on your toes.
Oh dear.
Well,
Katie, just it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and it's been a pleasure just having the ability to share a waffle and starting off the new year in such a positive way, and actually understanding sort of where everybody's at. And it doesn't matter where in the world that you are, is just knowing that you've got people around you and you've got people that are willing you to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
And and we all it's all out there for all of us, and we will find that one day. And we're all here for you. And just keep in touch. We'll keep nagging away. We'll get you back on the show. Don't you worry. You'll be an associate waffler. I think we get a.
Oh,
I'll get some.
I think that needs a badge of some description.
Yeah, I think I need to get. I will get in touch with you, and I'll send you a little bit of waffle merch as well, just so that you actually feel part of the clan. So
fantastic! I look forward to it. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will talk to you all soon.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Yeah, waffle on.
Waffle on.